In this final video, I'm just going to talk a little bit about Eastern State Penitentiary as it sits today. So I've got these um, dual images kind of to compare. In the very first video, I pulled up the aerial view from Google Maps. In subsequent videos, I showed the model here, the way the prison would have looked in around 1836 when the first 7 cell blocks were built or completed. And I've talked about the additional cell blocks being added. I don't know for sure how many there are. There's at least, I think this building right here is cell block 14, so I think there's at least 14. That could be all of them. I'm not 100% sure. Just kind of point out a couple of things. So in this one, we talked about the noticeable feature were these individual exercise yards, and you can see how they don't exist in any kind of um, area anymore. Like they're all gone. The only one, and it might not be literally the only one, it's the only one that I know of. It's the only one that I can see visibly. Was the one I showed in one of the previous videos. The inside and outside. This little recreation yard eventually became the toilet for the recreation yard in later years. So they left that one standing. That's the only one that has all 4 walls still standing and was preserved because it served as the toilet in later years. So you can definitely tell the radial design problems would have been significant. Like you can look down this hallway, but you can't look down these. So this is cell block 8 and cell block 9. Um, they wouldn't have been visible. So you can see that everything's crammed together. They tear out those exercise yards relatively quickly and build other things. They build machine shops, and there's a synagogue and chapels, and all kinds of different things have to be included. One of them, I'm not for sure. I think this is cell block 3, which is uh, served as the hospital. Not 100% sure, um, but the cafeteria would have had to have been installed. That might have been over in this area. It might have been in cell block 4 somewhere. Not 100% sure about those, but eventually they would have had to put one in. So as it stands today, going back to kind of the timeline, so the prison opens in 1829. The original 7 cell blocks are finished construction in 1836. They build 4 more cell blocks and cram them in here by 1877. By 1913, the separate and silent system is officially abandoned. And then the big date that we're looking at is 1971. That's when the last prisoners are going to be bussed out of Eastern State's gates and no longer serving as a prison. Uh, there's 1971 through 1980-ish. The prison is going to be used for storage, and they're going to abandon a bunch of stuff here. Eventually, the state of Pennsylvania will sell the prison to the city of Philadelphia. The city of Philadelphia will try to investigate its commercial value. Can they use this for commercial property for any particular purpose? This is a large plot of land in not the dead center, but in a significantly populated American city, so there would be a lot of value in it. Ultimately, um, uh, Mayor Good is eventually going to recommend that they don't use it for commercial purpose or try to sell it off, but instead try to investigate some sort of stabilization process to keep the prison kind of for historical purposes, and that's what's going to happen. In 1991, they're going to have their first event. 1994 will lead to the first kind of consistent daily tour process. It'll eventually turn into a 7-day-a-week, all year long tour availability. The original tours attendees had to wear hard hats. They had to sign waivers. You don't have to do that anymore. The goal of Eastern State's preservation, as stated, and I'll show you some of the interior pictures that really show kind of this idea. You can see here, open for tours through the front gate. The goal is to keep the prison in a suspended state of ruin. There have been some projects. One I showed earlier was a recreation of the exterior. I'm going to call it a bean chute. That's not what it is, but a bean chute door in cell blocks 1, 2, and 3. They kind of built up this facade. Those were taken out while the prison was still in operation, so there was nothing left in evidence of those. And there's some projects like that are trying to keep the prison stable. So here you can see the mesh. They did at some point redo cell block 1. Probably all the roofs will eventually have to be redone to preserve them, but they're not going through and building these up. They don't want it to look like a modern prison or anything like that. They're trying to keep it from decaying further, but not reverse any decay that has already taken place. And you can see a lot of that obviously in the paint and debris that's found throughout the cell block. Still a lot of bed frames, a lot of cement, plaster, rock, debris. You can see where cell doors eventually were cemented in or covered up. So this would have been the entryway from the tier or interior hallway. Eventually, when there was no exercise yard, there was no need for a back door to your cell. So those were all covered up, and you can still see evidence of that. This is one of my favorite things about prisons, whether they're operational or not. I don't think anything illustrates the monotony of daily life in prison like the wear and tear you find on staircases, whether they're steel or whether they're wooden. You can always see the hours and hours and miles of stairs or steps that have taken a wear and tear on a staircase. That's, to me, one of the most interesting things about whether it's a new prison or an old prison. You can always see stairs that have been worn out through countless rounds of checking cells, in particular in these linear hallways. So if you look, here is, I believe this is right, yeah, you can see the 7 coming from center, cell block 7. So this is, as you walk up these stairs and you stand on this gallery platform, you look out down the tiers. If you turn around, not sure what any of this stuff is, but you can definitely see the decay, the ruin, as it sat abandoned for 25 years or so. This is the kind of stuff that you'd see now and out in the what used to be. So here's what used to be outside cell doors to the recreation yard. So probably where the wall was torn down from the side of the cell. So when the last prisoners were taken off and the state was just using it for scrap storage or whatever it may be, this might have been stuff that fallen down or just dumped, cleaned up, piled up, and then just left for years and years and years. So I obviously in this video series did not cover everything there is to know about Eastern State. The last thing that I'll talk about is the Eastern State Penitentiary tour website. Anytime you're in Philadelphia, the tours are available. I'm not sure if they're open. This says every day from 10 to 5. I don't know if that means Christmas and Thanksgiving. You can check that out. A lot of stuff goes on. A daytime tour. They have an audio tour that is narrated by Steve Buscemi, a relatively famous actor. One thing I wanted to point out for those of you that visit in the fall is the event that took place in 1991 was based around Halloween. It was a haunted tour or haunted house type event, and they have this every fall. Terror Behind the Walls. Um, they have these attractions inside the cell house. 6 haunted attractions. Here are dates of availability, things like that. Uh, I've never gone in the fall. I visited the prison once in the summer of 2018. My next trip, I hope, will be in these fall years. I might have to take a week off of school to come visit during the haunted house time frame. But take the time to come and visit the website if you're not into the Halloween part, just the regular visit. There is an online tour that you can look to see some of the photos that I've shown. Puts it in a Google Maps perspective. Here's a kitchen and bakery. Was not open to me when I was there, but the outside, the current program or events, any type of these hands-on history, the art installation, those are new or more modern, more relevant things to incarceration in general, not just Eastern State Penitentiary. But if you have the opportunity to visit Philadelphia, take the time, drive up or take the bus to Fairmont Avenue and visit. And if you do, then let me know what you think. Share your photos. Maybe I can make additional videos.